Every day, we make decisions that shape our lives. Decisions grounded in our beliefs. But where do those beliefs come from? They're built on the information we take in and how we choose to evaluate it. This process of evaluation is a skill, one that we must hone to better recognize what is trustworthy and what is misleading, deciding which information to accept, challenge, or discard. In my view, philosophy is one of the best ways to cultivate this skill because it helps us to hold true beliefs and ultimately make better decisions. In this video, I will share why philosophy is more than an abstract theory. It's really a practical tool that we can use to sharpen our thinking and evaluate ideas and also bring clarity in all the complexities of life and use this skill as a compass to make better decisions. My name is Kevin and I have too many interests, not enough time, and a drive to understand our world better. If you ever faced a dilemma in your life or you have to make complex decisions, this video is for you. And you will see how philosophy can help you out when being confronted with those challenges in your life. Let's dive in. You may think that philosophy is this abstract academical thing that only a few people in the world are interested in or doing even. But this is not the case. Philosophy is very practical and you are doing philosophy every day and you are actually very excited by this. For example, you might have a friend that comes to you and say, "Hey, I'm facing a dilemma right now. I have this option of getting this very well-paid job that could help me to afford a new apartment," for example. On the other hand, he could get another job which is not well paid, but is extremely rewarding and interesting. Well, that's a dilemma. What should he do? When you're discussing these things, you're discussing about values, priorities, and the meaning of success. Those are all philosophical topics. And this is the same when you speak about what's right or wrong. When, for example, someone at work is acting badly, what do you mean by badly? What kind of bad actions has this person done? Or if you're confused and you reflect on death and the meaning of life, these are all philosophical topics. In this case, for example, I would say, go ahead and inform you on what Viktor Frankl or Albert Camus said on the meaning of life. What is actually important for us as humans? Is there a purpose? And if you're confused or interested in friendship, well, go and read Aristotle, because he wrote extensively in Nicomachean Ethics about this question. So the point is, those are not just abstract topics and debating on the nitty-gritty details about academic research. What philosophy is an open discussion that everybody that shares this human experience will confront during his life. And at the end of the day, this is what we really appreciate in conversation. It is not to know if a specific atom is behaving in a certain way or the wavelengths of colors, but rather what does it mean for us? What is our subjective experience? And what do we face as humans going through our lives? So we've just seen that philosophy is actually very exciting. It's something that everybody is doing out there. And this is something that can bring interest. But philosophy goes further than this because we can really use that as a tool to think better. And I really like this idea of when you're reading philosophy or learning about a specific philosopher, you're basically having a conversation with one of the brightest minds of our civilization. How often can you go and exchange with someone which had this huge impact on history and the way we think about our world? So if you're reading Socrates or Nietzsche or Hume, in the end what you're doing is you're trying to understand how did they perceive the world, and you're challenging their ideas. You're evaluating the pros and cons. You're trying to see if it makes sense. This is basically wrestling the biggest questions of humanity against very, very smart people that ponder their whole life on those questions and gave us their executive summary of the perception of the world. Is there a better way than that to sharpen our ability to think critically. Personally, I see three main points of what philosophy can teach us other than simply the academical studies and learning about the ideas out there. First, it teaches us to listen to the arguments of others. If you start engaging with philosophy, you will find out that nobody really has the exact same perception of the world as you do. And so that will be tough in the beginning because you will find a lot of ideas that go against your own. And as I said, the guys writing those books, they thought about this question very hard. So you might be very, very challenged when you start reading them. Socrates is the best example there because he doesn't even bring in his own ideas. He simply tries to question the ideas of others. And by doing that, he discovers that some things that are very accepted and that many people believe in are actually rooted on a very shaky ground. And that helps us to remove those hidden assumptions and discover new ideas behind. If you're interested to know how he does that, I have a video on the Socratic method that I will link in the description. The second point is that philosophy helps you form your own opinions. Since you're confronted with all these other ideas that you wouldn't even think about, you will see that it's normal to start questioning your own ideas and your own beliefs. And that is something that most philosophers went through. They realized that when we think really deeply about a certain topic, we need to reassess our assumptions. And that's something that, for example, Nietzsche recommended to us, to reevaluate our values and not just stick with the status quo. And the third important point is that philosophy helps you see through false claims and false information. What I mean by that is that since you get used to challenge these ideas of the greatest minds of our civilization, it gets quite easy as a habit to challenge opinions of others. And once you start challenging Rousseau or Hume, how easy is it then to challenge the influencer on TikTok or simply the false prophets that come and say, this is how you must think. So philosophy equips you with the tools to defend yourself and your beliefs, which ultimately impact your decisions and actions. For instance, if you see someone saying that, hard work pays off, well, philosophy goes further and say, okay, hard work is definitely one variable, but what about some advantages from a part of the population, the privilege or the opportunity? Is there barriers to success for these people? So next time you hear a claim, and especially a bold one, challenge it. Try to ask questions rather than simply saying, oh, this guy, he has authority, so I'm gonna follow him. So now hopefully you're convinced and see the benefits of philosophy, and you want to dive in, but you're not sure where to start. Well, many people believe that philosophy is hard and inaccessible because it's a lot of complex text. You need to read a lot, you need to take the time to do it, and not everybody has the time. But there are ways to make philosophy more approachable and enjoyable. So first of all, don't grab the first book on philosophy that you see and try to read it. That might seem counterintuitive, but this is not the way. The way is to go and trying to get an overview of a specific topic. So rather than going directly with the primary text, you need to get some background information, maybe read a summary, maybe watch a video online to try to get you interested in the topic and understand its basics. And then really select the topics that really, really interest you. Don't just start philosophy because you want to learn about philosophy, but follow your curiosity. So if you're interested in the big topics such as what is fairness or what is the good life, you can start with the entry books of Marcus Aurelius, for example, or Seneca. And starting with the ancient Greek is actually a good idea because it is the fundamentals of philosophy there. And the ideas are not yet too technical and academical, but rather down to earth. And also, I'm always saying reading philosophy and books, but it doesn't have to be the case. There is a lot of podcasts and videos on YouTube that really, really bring a lot of insights. For podcast, I can really, really recommend Within Reason from Alex O'Connor. and the Partially Examined Live podcast when it goes a bit more in analyzing these philosophical texts. On YouTube, just type philosophy and whatever topic or philosopher you're interested in and check the first results. There is a lot of interesting information out there. And once you discover the main ideas of philosophy, the goal is really to start a dialogue. So discuss it with a friend, bring the topic. You don't need to know about all the arguments and these kind of things to have discussions. Because in the end, philosophy is not just about the arguments and the logics and so on, but rather about humans. So if there is a question of what is fairness, you can also evaluate it as a human without having the background information when you're into these discussions. If you want to dive into text, which I also really recommend, I have a video on how to tackle the complex text, how to get better at extracting those insights. So check it out. I will put it in the description as well. And if you want to start reading something, which I actually encourage you to do, you can start with the Meditations by Descartes. You will be surprised on how entertaining and easy it is to read this one, because Descartes wrote this just as if he was writing a letter to someone. So for example, he says, well, after all this reflection, I'm actually quite tired, so I need to rest and I will think about it tomorrow morning again. And he goes through very interesting arguments, but makes it very enjoyable and engaging. And on top of that, Descartes' meditation is one of the groundwork of philosophy, where he really brought challenging questions on what is knowledge and skepticism. What can we really trust? So definite recommendation on my side. Check it out. It is even free online. You can find a PDF for that. So download it, read it, have fun. So to sum it up, philosophy is actually extremely enjoyable and more accessible than you think, probably. The main thing is really to be driven by your curiosity. And that can happen with shower thoughts. If you have a weird shower thought and you wonder, did someone think about it already? Most probably someone did. So go on ChatGPT or Google and ask the question and try to see who thought about it, and then just continue the journey into discovering more about these ideas. And by following this exciting journey of discovery, you will find out that the learnings that you get along the way are extremely practical and they help you in your daily life. So now that we discussed why philosophy matters and how it can transform the way you think, let's take it further. In the next video, we will see why so many of us argue like politicians rather than philosophers. And together, we will see how to approach discussions with more depth and understanding, leading us to more meaningful conversations. See you on the next one.